I've spent so much time writing about being frustrated, being anxious, feeling depressed, feeling like the split in my mind. And I didn't really know what was going on because, like, inside of me, I think I knew like I was struggling with something.
Here with David Archuleta, who has new music out, a new music video is everywhere right now. You've been putting out music, though, really for the last 15 years since Crush. This time it feels different to me, though. It feels like there's such a buzz and such an excitement. Does it feel different for you?
I think so because I think people are really intrigued by because I'm in a different direction, different path than I was before. And I think, I grew up a Latter-day Saint or a Mormon is how most people know it. And so I was super religious. I had taken a break from my singing to be a Mormon missionary in South America for 2 years. And when I came back, I was still like really religious, faith minded in everything I did, even in the music I was releasing, even in the shows. So it kind of put me into this like little bubble. I've just kind of gone in a different direction now, like away from like the church world. Actually, I'm learning. It allows me to love myself rather than be afraid of who I have always been, and learning how to rewrite the narrative in my head to just say, actually, you don't have to be afraid of yourself. You don't have to hate yourself. And wow, like what a difference it makes. So I think that comes across in the music because that now I'm writing about how freeing it feels and just, like it feels nice to like myself.
Yeah. Do you feel like you've given yourself permission to expand creatively and step out of that bubble that you said that you were in when it comes to music?
Yeah, I the last couple of songs, especially just over the summer that I released, were just about being happy. I'm like, I've spent so much time writing about being frustrated, being anxious, feeling depressed, feeling like the split in my mind. And I didn't really know what was going on because, like, inside of me, I think I knew like I was struggling with something, but I didn't realize it was like my sexuality. I was constantly in that mindset. I didn't realize that's why I was always frustrated. And it's just really interesting how when you grow up in an environment that's so afraid of like people who may be gay or queer, um, that you learn that fear. And it's such a weird way of living. And the fact that they think that that's the right thing to do, really, now looking back, I'm like, wow, for almost all my life, I thought that was the right thing to do. But now I'm like happy. And that's why I've released Afraid to Love and I'm Yours, where it's just like, I'm here and I'm queer kind of thing.
Yeah. And since you've come out, I feel like so many people in the community have been able to share that experience with you, right? Like you're not the only one that went through that. How has that been for you to have this weight lifted off your shoulders and then realize that there's a whole community of people that can relate to what you're going through and appreciate your story and the music that you're making as a result of it?
It's been so wonderful because I think life can get really tricky when you start believing that you're alone and that no one understands you and no one is going through the same thing as you. And so I think that's why it's important to speak out and to speak up, even about your vulnerabilities. And if you don't have the right support system at home where people aren't willing to listen, I think it's really helpful and important to reach out to somewhere where you do feel like you will be heard. Um, like the first, I told some of my family members, and I also told my friends, and it was really helpful to have people outside of my family who weren't in like this religious, like, but you must look at it this way. This is the only way it can be. When people who say that have no idea what the queer experience is like.
What role does religion play in your life now?
I still like connect to something that I would consider is God, but it's not the same construct that I was raised to believe. I feel like religion spends too much time worrying about other people's issues that they don't even understand. I think I had to disconnect with myself because I believed in a God that didn't approve of me, like being queer. And I thought I had to change myself to get a God's approval. And then like in the end, like that same idea that I have of God that I connected to said, David, you're fine as you are. So I felt like, wow, I feel like I truly have like this relationship with this higher being, like truly fully for the first time, because I'm able to love myself the way that it loves me, the way God loves me. And when I told other people that, like other religious people would be like, you're wrong. You're listening to, you're probably being tempted by the devil. I'm like, well, I feel a lot more love from that than I'm feeling from you right now. So if God is love, I'm going to stick with that. And, I already spend a lot of time hating myself, and it feels amazing to love myself. So that's what I'm going to focus on now.
I can't thank you enough for being so open and honest in this conversation. I feel like it's been an incredible chat, and thank you. And I know our listeners will thank you too for being so genuine and for getting into all of these details and explaining your own personal journey, because I know so many people can relate to it.
Thank you, Corey.
Yeah. I was reading this profile in out.com the other day about Adore Delano, and she specifically mentioned
Adore.
having a close friendship with you. Of course, you were both contestants on American Idol, and I'm curious if you guys bonded over this shared queer experience of coming out as public figures or having your career move with you. And she recently announced a big step for her coming out as trans publicly. So I'm curious if you guys, bonded
Adore.
friendship.
I'm so proud of her because even on American Idol, like it was in 2008 when we were on it, and it was still a much more conservative time than even now. And so one week, the last week that she performed, like she did Tainted Love, but the Pussycat Dolls version, and she was like, you know what? Forget about it. I'm just going to be who I am, and because America, she was told a lot of things of like, you can't do this, you can't be this way, like we can't let people know this. And so I think that last week she's like, I'm just going to show a piece of who I am and not care what other people think.
Thank you for this. This was really fantastic. I really appreciate the time.
No, thank you, Corey. Thanks for letting me talk.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Absolutely.